Okay, happy Monday, Team Arrow. I'm excited to get on here today and just share some things that we learned at Top Achievers. For those of you that don't know what Top Achievers is, it's basically like the biggest trip of the year for Isagenix business builders, and basically like the top achievers of the year get invited. It's really special. It was an honor for me to be there, and I would not be there without every single one of you. And I want every single one of you to be there next year. It truly, Rich and I have been blessed with a lot of vacations with Isagenix, and this was by far the best vacation. Like, I want Top Achievers to be on all of your vision boards because it truly was a really incredible experience. I mean, just imagining like every business builder that you see on stage that you're just like admiring, and we all have these leaders in Isagenix that we admire and that we look up to, and then they're literally like in the yoga mat next to you at morning yoga in Maui, or Susan Sly's like running on the beach like 10 feet in front of you while you're at yoga. I mean, it's so cool, so special. But the most special part is those conversations that you get to have with people who have been doing it either as long as you or longer, and just kind of giving you their experience and their thoughts. And all I can say is that I have never been more excited to be a part of this company. There's some things that you guys are going to find out at Celebration that I've been sworn to secrecy on, but let me just tell you, Isagenix is just going to get better and better. We're going to have some amazing products launched in August at Celebration, and that's going to open us up to some new markets, which is really exciting. But just in general, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, if you don't know this, the vision and the mission for Isagenix is to free people from physical and financial pain, and in the process, build the largest health and wellness company in the world. Like, can we all stand behind that, you guys? Like, I remember hearing that mission statement at my very first event almost 3 years ago. And this was an event that I was still not really too sure where I stood on the business and whatnot. But when I saw that mission, that was something that I could stand behind, because I saw a lot of people around me that were not feeling great and absolutely needed what Isagenix could offer from a products perspective. But I also saw so many people who had taken the right decisions in life, had made the right decisions, the right path, college, graduate school, had just done everything the way that we learned how to do it, and were struggling financially. And these were nurses, engineers, attorneys, professionals around me, where you would think, okay, they have achieved their dream life, yet they cannot take that family vacation. They cannot send their kids to the private school they want to send them to. They are still paying off student loans. And I really saw that as a problem within my own network. And when I saw that one of the missions for Isagenix was to free people from not only physical pain, but financial pain, that was something that I could stand behind. That was something that I was really excited about. And I am more proud than ever to be a part of this company. So I hope that I'm communicating that excitement to you guys. And I hope that every single one of you that's on this call is going to Celebration in Nashville. Events are so big in this business, whether it's your first event or whether it's your 10th event. Every single event really does make a difference. But like we learned today in our executive call, for those of you who were on it, it's not just the event, it's getting into action after the event, right? So the reason I wanted to jump on today's call, there's so much that I would love to share with you, especially when I see like somebody new on the call. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much I want to tell you. But the purpose of today's call was talking about the compound effect, and this is the book. When we were in Maui, Darren Hardy, that's the author of this book, he actually came and trained us. So he spent a whole day with us, just training us on the compound effect, and what that looks like. And that was really, I thought and again, like, I know sometimes it sounds like we say this all the time, but I thought this was the best training I've been to in isogenics. This was more impactful to me than even Tony Robbins, which is like crazy to say out loud. And a lot of people in the room felt that way. And this is why. With a lot of other trainers and trainings that we've had in the past, I think there's just this whole movement of like, visualize it, have a vision, dream big, like all these like things that we can't really like touch, you know what I mean? Like they're not like tangible things. It's just like, okay, well, I'm dreaming big. Okay, I'm visualizing that I'm going to be an isogenics millionaire. It's not happening, or you know, whatever it is. And what I loved about Darren Hardy was that he was so real and honest, and he was actually kind of like, let's stop with the BS and let's talk about what it really takes. And he was all about daily actions. It was all about what are you doing every day in your life to reach your goals? Like, and what are your action steps? It's not just about dreaming big. It's not just about visualizing. It's not just about the vision board. I have a vision board behind me, and I just sent a bunch of you to Life on Fire to go work on your vision boards. And not to say that those things are not important, but I think that we are all guilty of doing those things and then just thinking like, okay, I put it out in the universe. Like my next business builder is just going to come knocking at my door or whatever, you know, or we do these vision boards and we write the letter to ourselves 6 months from now, a year from now. And maybe we do that little cute activity of reading that letter every morning for a week or 2 weeks. But then 6 months down the line, you're like, where is that letter? I don't even know where I put it. I know some of you feel that way or have experienced that. I see the smiles. And it's like, those things are awesome and they're great. But what are your action steps? What are you doing every single day? And so I'm going to go kind of through some notes, and hopefully it's as impactful. It won't be because I'm not Darren Hardy, but I'm going to do my best, or at least just kind of have a reality check with ourselves of like, you know, are you where you want to be in your isogenics business? And if you're not, can you honestly say that you're putting in the work and that you are in action every day and that you are working your business every day? And if you're okay with where you're at in your business and you're okay with the action that you're putting in, that's okay. We will love you where you are at. But if you're coming to me saying, gosh, like, why am I not an active executive? Or I've been stuck at 2-star for a year or 2 years. Why? Like, you have to really look at your daily activities. And if you're still doing the same things and expecting a different result, that's insanity, right? Like, we have to really just be honest about, okay, what are we doing? What can we change up? And are we really in action or not? And like we heard from Laura's call today, as far as growing in leadership, like, are we growing ourselves, you know, and how much time are we putting into that? The other thing that I want to say before I kind of go over my notes is, especially for those of you that are on the call for maybe the first time, or maybe you've just been hopping on a few times, this business is definitely not a get skinny and get rich overnight thing. There's like the warning. This is a long-term process. Like, if you think you're going to lose 100 pounds in a month and you're going to become an isogenics millionaire in 6 months, like, that's just not, that's not how it happens. It takes time. So if you're on this call, I just kind of want to set the stage to give yourself time and commit to isogenics and building a business for at least the next 2 to 3 years, and really commit. It doesn't mean that you're just going to drink a shake for the next 2 years and then become an isogenics millionaire. right? If you drink shakes for the next 2 years and you follow the system, you'll probably be in amazing shape, but it doesn't mean that you're going to build this massive isogenics business, right? You have to do some work. This is network marketing. There is some work involved. So I really want you to really process that. This is a long-term business, and it was really cool to be at Top Achievers. I mean, there was people there, you guys, that have been with Isogenics for 15 and 16 years. Like, it was so cool to like meet those people. Back then, they only had a 9-day system and no Facebook. Like, I am like, how did you do that? And they had an incredible vision, but I can only imagine that it was incredibly difficult. But it was really cool to hear, because they're really the pioneers and they're the ones who stuck it out, you know. Like, there was a guy there, and some of you might have seen the thread that I sent from Eden Sloban. But there was a guy there who started, I think, 15 years ago. I think his name's Tim or Tom, I can't remember, but he did Isogenics for about 3 years and was like working at like getting a lot of people started on 9 days and all that. Back then, they didn't have product introductory bonuses. They didn't have like all these other promotions where Isogenics just like throws money at us. Back then, it was just cycles. It was all, you're either a consultant or you're an executive, and just BV, just cycles. And after 3 years of working his Isogenics business and really working it, doing launch parties, getting in front of people, showing the opportunity, everything, he was averaging out 3 cycles a week. So that's basically about $150 a week. And his wife was super frustrated. Like, she was like, you are wasting your time. Like, can we please be done with this? Like, this is so not worth it. And he just begged her. He was like, please, like, just trust me, just give me time. Like, this is going to happen, you know? The next year, so his 4th year, he ended up becoming an Isogenics millionaire. I can't remember the exact amount that he made, but since then, so now he's been with Isogenics, I think 15 or 16 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody remembers reading that thread, but since then, so 15 years, you guys, think about that. In 15 years, he and his family have made $40 million in Isogenics. 40. Like, incredible. So do you think his wife is happy that he didn't give up on his 3 cycles a week back then? But it was a long-term commitment, and he was in action. And it wasn't that it happened overnight. It was that finally, that 4th year, things took off, and the compound effect, right? He did the right things every day for 3 years. And finally, the 4th year, the train just took off. It was also really cool to meet some people who had been with Isogenics for 10 years and had their own slow start for whatever reason. And it was their first time at Top Achievers. They had not been at Top Achievers every year for the last 10 years. It was their first time. But again, it was just being consistent and sticking with it and not giving up. But again, not just like visualizing and praying that it'll happen, growing and continuing to grow and learning how to be a better network marketer and just learning to be a student of this profession so that you can improve yourself. So, okay, Darren Hardy. Let's see, there's so much that he said, but some of the things that he talked about, it's not what you know, it's what you do that determines your success. And we've heard different variations of this, but it is true, you know, like I have met a lot of super intelligent people that have joined my team, and I think like, oh my gosh, like this person is so smart, they have a PhD and they're going to be so successful and da-da-da, but then they don't do anything in their Isogenics business, so nothing happens. So it's not about the knowledge, it's not about what people know, it's about action, it's about that grit, it's about getting out there and working it. He talked about there's lots of broke geniuses. We know that, right? There's a lot of smart people who are broke. I mean, There's a lot of people that have PhDs in this and that and whatnot, and they're broke and they owe a ton of student loans and they don't have a real job, right? So it's not about how smart a person is, it's about them hustling and getting into action. Um, Along these lines, 44% of doctors are overweight. Like, what does that tell you? Why? That always is like so shocking to me. Like, meeting a doctor who's overweight, I'm like, you know better. Like, you know this is really bad for you, right? They're smart. They have the knowledge. Doesn't mean that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing to take care of themselves. I'm sure Jamie and Christina are like, yes, we know a lot of those people. There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And of course, for all these leaders that are there at Top Achievers, I mean, a lot of us are super comfortable, right? A lot of people definitely, I mean, especially when you're talking to the Isagenix millionaires and whatnot, it's like the money no longer is driving them. The money is there. They're continuing to make 7 figures. So they have to find a different thing to move them, right? So it's about, people do get really comfortable. And I've even seen people super comfortable with 3 cycles a week in our own team. I mean, that's just the reality. There's a lot of comfort zones. And I think that when you have a full-time job and your husband still has his full-time job, 3 cycles a week is nice. That's an extra $150 a week. That's comfortable, right? And so some people just take that as a win and don't necessarily push themselves to move forward, and then are wondering why they're still stuck where they're at. And then just all of us, like I can speak for all of us who are executive, we know the path, but are we walking it every day, right? There's one thing to be an active executive. It's another thing to stay there. And it's another thing to keep growing, right? We all know how to do it. Every single person who's on this call, who's an executive, knows what it takes to become an executive. So why aren't we doing it over and over again? Why do we not keep doing it? We're not walking the path, but then we're expecting other people to do it, right? So just like being really real about that and just continuing to grow. Okay, let me see. What separates successful people from unsuccessful people? Does anybody want to take a guess at that? What separates successful people from unsuccessful people? Choices. And it's the choices that we make every single day. And that was a big thing with Darren Hardy, was that he didn't have like this big pivotal moment where people become successful or this big like idea. It was all about every day. Those little choices that we make every single day are either getting you closer to your goal or further away. And that's in anything, right? That's in weight loss, weight gain, that's in your health, that's in your relationship with your husband, your wife, that's in your Isagenix business, that's in your everyday life. Think about how many choices we make every single day and how they impact us. And sometimes we take them for granted. So one of the things that he talked about, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Hold on. So choices, just those choices that we make every day, little or small. What time are you waking up every morning? What time are you going to bed every night? Do you drink wine every night before you go to bed or not? What do you eat? Are you having a burger and cheeseburger for dinner, a burger and pizza for dinner every night, and then sad that Isagenix isn't working for you because you have your 2 shakes a day? Well, we need to rethink that burger and pizza, right? Are you making that extra phone call? Are you pushing yourself to talk to one more person? Like, what are you doing every single day to grow your Isagenix business? Are you posting on Facebook or not? And I will say, and I've said this before, but I think our team hides behind Facebook way too much. I think that overall, we think that if we just post 3 times a day, people will just come to us and our business will just grow. And we think that if we post a picture of us with a shake or talking about a cleanse day, people will come to us. And it's another thing that I really want you guys to think about. There's value on social media, and especially when you're just getting started, like for you, Alva, like social media is awesome because it's like the coming out party, like you're letting people know like I'm doing something and like watch me, and you're documenting your journey. But then there also comes a point where we have to get out of our comfort zone and get out of our Facebook, social media land, and just talk to people and be brave, you know? And of course, there is a balance. I mean, I am one that relies on social media a lot, and I've talked to you guys a lot about it. And I definitely don't talk about isogenics with people in person all the time. I kind of wait for them to see my Facebook and then go from there. And a lot of you know that because some of you have joined me in that way. But I think just being, with that said, I also wait for people to come to me, right? So just being more intentional about having those conversations. In fact, I just had this conversation with one of the moms at Leo's school. And those of you who know, like who talk to me often, you know that I am very cautious with Leo's school because I am with these moms for the next 9 years. So I definitely don't want to be like the crazy shake lady that's talking about isogenics all the time. But at the same time, I also want to help them. And there's a lot of people that I can help. So it's like this balancing act of like, I want to help you, but I don't want to be the crazy shake lady. Like, what do I do, you know? But I was talking to this mom. Actually, we just became Facebook friends a couple of weeks ago. And it was so funny because she kind of stopped me last Friday and was like, I had no idea that you worked. I had no idea you had a business. Like, what is going on? Like, I saw you in Maui. Like, she had so many questions. And this is a mom who, I mean, our kids have been together all year for school, and our kids even did baseball. So it's kind of like, okay, like I probably should have, like, she should have known a little more, you know? But leveraging social media, that gave us like a really good way to start talking about it. And she definitely came to me. But I definitely, I think, could have done a better job of putting myself out there. And she like is like literally begging me for information. Like she's like, I need this, I want this, both physically and financially, which is so cool, you know? And at the end of the day, like we can help so many people. This is what it's about. Like this is not about us, you guys. Like, and I think we all get caught up on like, what is this doing to me? Or I don't want them to think that I'm trying to make money off of them. Like, I really 100% believe that we help people with isogenics. So why would we not help more people and keep it a secret? So not only am I challenging myself to be more brave and more intentional, but I want every single one of you to just really own it and be really proud, because I'm really proud to be a part of this company, you guys. It's only going to get better and better. So those choices every day, it's the little choices that we make. So success is not a result of any big choice. Like he really talked about that. It's the little choices. So like, are you working out every day? Like, what do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for lunch? So he talked about the compound choices are the eighth wonder of the world. So for example, he talked about, gosh, did I write this down? Hold on. Laura referred to it too. And I'm kind of thinking that I might have not written that one down, but he gave an example of this man who made some daily changes to his life. And some of them were actually like pretty clear cut. The ones that I remember were working out 30 minutes a day and cutting out like 175 calories out of his diet every day. So those are just like two small choices, right? Working out 30 minutes a day, cutting out 175 calories a day. And there was a few other things that he changed, but those are the two that like really stuck out with me. Over a year of him changing just those two things, he had lost 30 pounds. And I thought that was so cool because like those are not big things, you know. It's not like he went and ran a marathon or like, anything crazy. I mean, there were some other things like drinking 2 gallons of water and things like that. But think about that, like working out 30 minutes a day, drinking 2 gallons of water a day, and cutting out 175 calories. That's not even a huge calorie count. Over the span of a year, the guy had lost 30 pounds. And I think that's just like such a telling example of the compound effect, right? It's like those little things that over a year make such a difference. And thinking about that in every aspect of your life, like if you are not happy with where your marriage is at, what are you doing about it? And I mean, he talked about that. Like he talked about even like your relationship with your spouse and stuff. In fact, I was just having a conversation with somebody today about their marriage, and they don't ever go on date nights. They haven't had like an overnight without the kids in years. Like there's all these things, and it's like it's just not a priority, but then you're wondering why your marriage is suffering. So again, like what do you want out of life in the next year? And you have to get really intentional about it. And we can all make excuses for everything, but divorce is going to be way worse than scheduling one date per week with your spouse so that you can make sure that you're happy, and it's the best gift that you can give to your kids. So think about that, right? So we've talked about like relationships, we talked about weight, and then of course your business, right? How many people are you talking to about Isagenix every day? How many people are you adding on social media? How many launch parties are you having every week? I mean, I know that some of us haven't had a launch party in months. I'm guilty of it too. So like those daily, weekly actions, and I'm actually going to send I'll put it in Team Arrow Biz, but I took a picture. He made like this document for us where it was literally like, how many people did you talk to this week? How many launch parties did you have? How many people did you follow up? So it was like a data sheet where you could very clearly just be like, oh, that's why my business is where it is. I haven't had a launch party in months, or I haven't talked to people about Isagenix. Like, when was the last time that you talked to a new person about Isagenix? Really, let's talk about that. Like, when was the last time that you made a new friend and added them to social media? But then we're complaining that we have no new enrollments, right? So just thinking about those little choices. Why people fail and make poor choices. So it seems so simple, right? Like just make better choices every day and your life will be so much better. But obviously it's not that easy. All choices have consequences. In the short term, you don't see the results. So how come so many people in the beginning of the year sign up for gym memberships and these challenges, and they're going to run every day, and then how come they all stop? Not all, but like, what is it? Like 80% stop their New Year's resolutions by February 1st, something like that. I think it's a big percentage. Why? Because they don't see the success that they expect as quickly as they expect it, right? So the same thing happens with Isagenix. I've seen it so many times. It is so hard to witness somebody come into our team and be all fired up and be like, I'm going to be the next Isagenix millionaire, da, 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 da. And then month 3, I can't find them. They're like missing in action. Like, I feel like I need to call the FBI. I'm like, are you alive? Like, I thought you were going to be the next Isagenix millionaire. Let's do this, And why? Why does that happen? Because they feel like they gave it all. They feel like they worked it really hard. They have these high expectations, and then they don't become an Isagenix millionaire in 3 months. So then they give up because they didn't see the success that they expected, right? So it's the same thing with anything in life. It's that it's not about just the 1 month, the 2 month, 3 months. It really is long term. Now, I think it's fair for all of us to have goals along the way. We just had Christina talk about goals last week. So important, but also just being realistic with has this goal been accomplished before? And what does it take? What does it take to get there? And if you don't achieve it, be really honest with yourself. Like, did you really put the time and energy that you should have, or maybe not? I mean, I know for myself, when I don't reach a goal, I take full responsibility. I'm like, yeah, I didn't really like work it that week. I didn't really put what it takes to get there, you know, in all aspects, not just in isogenics, but in general, right? In the short term, you won't see the positive results of your choices, but the long-term choices catch up with you. Be patient, stay consistent. He talked about consistency so much, and that was something that really resonated with me. I am a super structured, consistent person. So I was like, yeah, but I realize most people aren't. And I'm very consistent about the good, bad, and ugly. Doesn't mean all my consistency is good. I'm a very structured person where, like, on Mondays, I like to do this. On Tuesdays, this is what I do. Wednesdays, this is what I do. But there's also room for improvement for sure. The biggest improvement that I've really committed to in the last year, and you guys know that, is really getting back into my fitness routine. It was something that I had given up. And when I stopped working as a school psychologist and started to work from home, a year after, the weight creeped back up, and it was so confusing to me because I was like, I still do isogenics, but I've gained this weight. Like, I'm so confused. And it was also the lack of physical activity from working at a high school where I was going up and down that high school all day long, right? So again, those everyday things I didn't even think about. I didn't even think that my daily activity as a high school psychologist was making that big of a fitness impact, but it was. And I was also doing Bikram yoga like every day of my life. And then I became so consumed with my isogenics business because I love it that I definitely let go of that. So again, getting back into that, and you know, it's been a progression. Like right now, I go to hot yoga pretty much like 3 to 4 times a week, and I feel really good about it. And I've gotten into a really good routine, and especially being pregnant and whatnot. But just making those daily choices, like, where do you want to be a year from now, and what do you have to do to get there? You know, fitness, nutrition, isogenics, all of that, and being patient. Give yourself a year. Like, okay, I'm going to do this every day for the next year, and give yourself grace, you know. The compound effect is subtle and deceptive. That was the other thing that he talked about. Immediate gratification with poor choices. So again, why do most people not make those good choices every day? Because those poor choices, we get some immediate gratification, right? Like eating that burger and french fries is so yummy in the moment. And then like 3 hours later, you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or having that glass of wine every night when you're winding down. And then the next morning when you have a headache, you're like, oh, why did I do that? So again, that immediate gratification ends up being kind of our worst enemy for some of these things. And when you make a positive choice, you typically don't get anything in that moment, right? Let's see. In life, you will suffer one of 2 pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. I thought that was so powerful. And I think that's so true for isogenics. So we're either going to feel the pain of being super disciplined in this business and just keep going. It's so worth it, you guys. For those of you who are just starting, trust me, it's worth it. Almost 3 years, and it's the best decision I made. Or the pain of regret. I think about people who have come into our team and who have left and continue to see